let's just say I come to you and I say, Jim, cameras off, phones off. I just want to have a conversation with you. I'm thinking about running for office. Okay.
Great.
And here's some of the things I would like to have an outlandish campaign to come out, like, hey, build a wall or do this. Not some basic stuff that everybody keeps talking about, repeating, you're like everybody else. I don't want to be Me Too. I want to come out with a new campaign.
Right.
Okay. So, one, only 2 countries in the world Big Pharma can advertise in, okay, on TV, mainstream media. You got US and New Zealand. That's one. I'd like to eliminate them from them being able to advertise on national television and allow doctors to do their job to make the prescription instead of them buying TV ads, right? Pfizer paying guys $20 million. The other day I saw John Legend with a Pfizer ad for COVID shot. It's been 4 years. Yeah. Can you find out how much John Legend got paid for the COVID shot? I know Kelsey got $20 million. I don't know what John Legend, we can probably find that out and see what the number is. But I want to eliminate that. I don't want John Legend telling me to take a COVID shot. No, get out of here. I don't want to watch you. Go play your music. Your music will play at many different weddings. I don't want you to be a doctor coming up telling me why we should take the COVID shot because of you. Okay. So number 1 is Big Pharma outside of advertising.
Yeah.
2 is term limits. I want to run on term limits, and I want to get that done. Impossibility.
Yeah.
3, I want to run on, we're going to take Fauci down, and we're going to investigate everything that happened. Okay,
I like that.
We're going to find out exactly what happened. Number 4, I want to hold China accountable because everybody's forgotten about what happened with China with the release of the virus. We haven't been able to do that. If there's got to be an element of reparations that they did for the world to stop, for the amount of months that they stopped, the millions of restaurants, jobs that was lost, the $50 million in the hospitality business industry that we lost, the 100,000 restaurants that shut down, whatever the numbers, 50 to 100,000. These are family-owned businesses that were shut down. If I told you one of those 4 I want to run on and add flat taxes to it, tell me which one's the most likely that you can get it done to the least likely of getting it done.
Well, first of all, the term limits requires a constitutional amendment. So that's a long process to amend our Constitution. So that's tough. The first one was on limiting advertising.
Big Pharma.
Yeah, you may have a chance with that. I think it's difficult, and of course you'd have the pharmaceutical industry, working against you. Yeah, of course. And then going after Fauci, I think the country's with you. Country remembers. I'm certainly with you. I've been going after that guy for. I still remember one time when he was in front of the hearing. I think I asked him this question like 100 times in 5 minutes. When do we get our liberty back? What measure? What metric? What has to happen before Americans get their First Amendment rights back? And he just like it was. I got. That's one of the few times I really actually got mad at the witness. So I'm all for doing that one. Now, as far as any crime or anything, I don't know that that's there, but that would obviously be up to the Justice Department. And then on China, I think that is critically important. You want to go specifically regarding COVID, but in a general sense, we understand China. We got to beat them in AI. That's the competition out there.
I'm talking reparations. Yeah. You stopped the world. You released the virus. You were irresponsible because of you. This is how much the world lost on what you did. All these families that have history, relationship, we have to hold you accountable. So
remember, you couldn't even say that.
I know you couldn't even say that. I know.
That's the censorship stuff.
So right here, based on this, would you say term limits is the hardest one because it's long term?
Yeah, because it requires a constitutional amendment.
Okay. Would you put Big Pharma, Fauci, China, flat tax? Which one would you put as the second toughest one? Flat tax, China, holding Fauci accountable, Big Pharma.
I don't. The flat tax is. We all like that simple tax system. That concept better. We're gonna do tax reform if we win everything like I think we're going to. Obviously, the tax cuts that we put in place back in 2017 with President Trump are up for reauthorization. So we have to get that done in 25 next year. So you could do maybe something on in a flatter way, but a clean flat tax probably be tough. But you can. We're definitely going to do tax reform. We get the majority. We're going to use this. The fancy term is reconciliation, but it's a fancy term to avoid the 60-vote hurdle in the Senate. We will use that approach to get tax reform done and tax cuts done and reauthorize most of what happened in 17, which was so good for the economy. So that's certainly part of that's possible. The others I think are pretty tough as well.
Got it. So you're saying So you're not thinking the big pharma thing's going to be tough to do?
No, it would be. I mean, I just know the way the lobbying thing works, and I'm not on the Energy and Commerce Committee. What some of these committees do. I'm on the committees where we're always in a debate and doing an investigation and judiciary and oversight. But the better answer would come from them. But I think there's probably a possibility that happens.
Got it. Yeah,
but you got to run first.
No, I'm not born here, so I can't run. You would have to create some amendments for me to be able to run.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, you're a citizen, right?
I'm a U.S. citizen.
Well, of course. So you can run for Congress. You want to run for president?
If there was any, like, I'm not, because for me right now, what we're building, we're growing rapidly, business-wise, company. I enjoy capitalism. I enjoy the free market. It's easy to compete. I know if I'm going to lose here, I'm going to win here. This is the dollar amount. It's very transactional. It's easier. Politics. Eric Trump was here last week, and he says, in politics, at least in business, you know if you're going to get a better deal or not because there's dollars involved. Both people want to build this hotel. Both people want to make this company work. Both people want to make the money. Politics, it's a different game.
Yes, I get it, but as we talked earlier, there's a competitive aspect to it too. I think it was one
agree.
of the. I think it was. I may be wrong on this, but I think it was one of the Kennedys. And maybe I'm wrong, but someone once said, one of the Kennedys, I think, said, politics the only game left for grown-ups. And there's that competition. And I like it because I'm fighting for the folks back home, the families, taxpayers, communities I get the privilege of representing. And but there is that competition component that I think is important too. In the history of the country, this is, I think, amazing about this country. In the history of this country, only about 12,000 people have ever served in the United States Congress. It is a privilege. It is an honor. And I try to remember that. And when I go there, it's like, okay, my job is to fight for the folks back home. Now, I think about this. I even said this to Fauci in one of the times I was cross-examining him in a hearing, that my job is to fight for those folks back home. And they want an answer to why their liberty has been restrained because of you. And when is it going to end? And so, but it is a privilege. And I know you're doing great in all you do here, but you should run for Congress.
I am so interested in your world. Trust me, I am very interested in your world. A guy like Elon, you see how Elon's being involved right now. So do you think, even at a level from your perspective where you're at, because, you're Congress, you're not going to be around for 2 years, 4 years. You can be around for as long as you want. You can be around for the next 20 years if you wanted. It's purely on you to decide to step away. Who is more powerful in your eyes, a Trump or a Musk?
Well, both are extremely powerful. But I mean, President Trump has transformed the party. He's the leader. We are now, and this is a good thing, we are now a populist party rooted in conservative principle. And that last part's really important. You can't just be pure populist. But we are a much more populist party, much more working class, middle class party rooted in conservative principles. President Trump has brought that about. What I think Elon has really done has focused in on this idea of protecting liberty, protecting First Amendment free speech rights, and he's just been powerful in that regard. I called him up because I had talked to Elon a few times with Kevin, and we had one of those meetings with Kevin. I still remember Elon Musk telling me, he used the term, he said, GARM is harm, and GARM is this, you guys might deal with them, Global Alliance for Responsible Media. And basically, they kind of coordinate together to say, oh, you shouldn't advertise your product on this particular podcast, this particular website, this particular platform, because it could be a reputational risk to your brand. And he said, that, and basically what they do is they were saying, don't advertise on anything conservative. Breitbart, Federalist, Twitter, don't do that. And I still remember when Elon said GARM is harm. We started investigating and found that it was exactly like he described it. Long story short, because of our investigation, GARM went out of business. They're no longer operating because we felt like it was almost an antitrust violation. That's from the Judiciary Committee's perspective. That's why we looked into them. So, what Elon's done on helping us and RFK Jr. too. By the way, when I talked with RFK Jr. a few weeks back when he endorsed President Trump, I called him up to thank him. And we started laughing because you had him on your show, but I invited him in as a witness. And I told him I invited him, Tulsi, the Schellenberger and Taibbi, the Twitter Files guys. And I told Elon, I probably invited more Democrats in as a witness than any Republican chairman I know. I mean, I said, I took some heat when I invited you in a year and a half ago because, Democrat candidate named Kennedy running for running for president. But I joked with him. I said, but we kind of look like geniuses now that this coalition's coming together. But by the way, in that hearing, now think about this issue in the Democrat Party. In that hearing, one of the Democrats, RFK Jr. testified, one of the Democrats, I think it was Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I need to double check that, but I think it was her, made a motion to go to executive session, which means you kick everyone out and no cameras, no citizens can see what their government's up to that day in that particular congressional hearing. So she made a motion to not let people see what RFK Jr. was going to testify to in a hearing on censorship. Think about that. And I'm like, his name is Kennedy. That's the most well-known name in Democrat politics for the last 3/4 of a century. And Democrats are trying to kick him out, not let anyone hear what he has to say. So you talk about they're the party of censorship. They certainly are. We're the party of defending the First Amendment. It's crazy. But RFK Jr. said something in that hearing that he said when he endorsed President Trump. And I've never forgotten it. And I told him this on the phone. I said, when you testified in the hearing, you said, when you look at history, it is never the good guys who are for censorship. It is always the bad guys. And that is so true. And I think Americans are seeing through this. And this is there was a survey last week where number one issue is inflation, number two issue, First Amendment, protecting the First Amendment. Ahead of the border, ahead of other issues.
I saw that.
And I was like, holy cow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
I saw that. So Elon even tweeted that out to show what the number was about. We talked about it on the podcast. You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but the last 13 and a half years, I've been working on my first fiction book to write, ever. Fiction book to write. And while I finished this book, a year ago, I got the strangest phone call about one of the characters in the book where the guy wanted to meet with me and he read the book. And afterwards is like, wait a minute, am I the villain in the book? This is a story about a character named Asher, who is half Armenian, half Assyrian, whose father was involved in the Iranian Revolution, linked to Savak, working with the Shah, that they escape and he gets recruited to a secret society. Well, when you go to the secret society, it's been around for a couple thousand years. They've developed some of the craziest leaders of all time. And they test you. There's unique tests that they have at this society where they test to see your emotional mental toughness. One of the tests that they have is very rigorous. It's purely mental. Of course, there's a physical one, but one is mental and emotional. If you're Armenian, if you're Syrian, if you're Persian, this is a book you're going to be reading and saying, holy moly, this is the kind of stuff you talk about in here? Yes. If you're somebody that's fascinated by history, this is a book for you. Characters. There's a technology that this society, secret society, builds where you go into a vault. I won't spoil it for you. When you go down, they have a technology where you get to sit down and watch and have a 3-4 hour conversation with Tupac. You can set up a debate between Karl Marx and Ayn Rand. Karl Marx is in the book, who wrote Communist Manifesto. Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged, is in the book. Marilyn Monroe explains the concept of seduction and sex in the book. When you read the book, it's about development of the next leaders in the world and how they do it and how they've been doing it for many years. And it's also about how to prevent the end of civilization and how this organization goes about doing it. So, I've never written a parenting book before, but if I ever wrote a parenting book, this is the closest thing to it because it's all mindset, a lot of crazy stories. Again, 13 and a half years. Trust me, I told myself I will not publish this book until I sell my insurance company and I'm fully disconnected from it, where it's no longer my responsibility 100%. When you read this, if you're a creative person, if you like fiction books, if you enjoyed Atlas Shrugged, or if you enjoy Divergent, if you like books like that, I think you're going to enjoy reading this book. It's the creative side. Business books is very easy. Here's how you do it. Here's how this how it works. This is very creative. If you haven't placed the order yet, now you can order it on Simon & Schuster, Amazon. I'm going to put the link up below somewhere here, maybe even in my profile. Go order the book and read it. I've never written a book where I can't wait to read your reviews to see what you think about this book. So I'm going on this wild journey and we have some plans with this book here. If you support the things that I work on, I would appreciate you going and reading the book, order the book on Amazon, and then post a review. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.